I guess I can call us to order. I could, if I could see the time on my clock, which I think is 6:35. And it looks like we have a non-hysterical agenda. Well, we're not dying in a hurry or anything like that. So our priority is to get through it and talk about anything we want to talk about, and to try to figure out what, if anything, we need to do going forward, and if we need to have another meeting, but that could happen repeatedly, who knows. So, we'll start with the clerk's report. We have 3 sets of minutes to approve.
I move the minutes from the May 2nd, May 5th, and June 4th meetings.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion other than I could swear?
On the last 7 minutes, you forgot to put me in on top.
Oh, did I?
Yes.
Oh, I see that. That's okay, I had meant to tell you it had said something besides McGillian Inez's correct name. And
Yes.
I was like,
Sorry, I forgot about that as well.
but it got corrected, magically.
Did it? I misspelled her name terribly. Oh,
Yeah,
no.
but no, it's correct now, so I
Maybe
Barb
Barb
fixed
fixed
it.
it.
Okay, any other additions, deletions, corrections? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstentions? All right. Does anyone have any communications that they would like to share with the board? Nope.
That doesn't include stuff like this, it's like somebody emailed stuff.
Yeah, I think we can discuss that during
Later.
Lyle's portion of the
Okay.
proceedings.
Yeah.
Hello, BCTV, our only visitor this evening. Welcome and thank you for coming. Finance.
Finance has not met since the last SU meeting and will not meet.
Actually, this is the finance part that we deal with,
Oh, I'm
which
sorry.
is the
I thought-
warrants, and I also have an application for 1% funds.
I can move the warrants if you want.
That would be awesome.
I moved the food service warrants, which I didn't notice the date of, $3,376.85.
Do I have a second?
0613.
And the PTSD warrants at $68,553.12, which are dated June 12th.
So, second.
Second, okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, and I have here an application for 1% funds from Lynn Borowski and the middle school teaching team for their program development. They do this every summer, planning, scheduling. And what I have is $221.29 per day times 6 people for a total of $2,655.48. And again, this is customary. They've done this every summer since I've been here. So, do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the 1% funds for Lynn Borowski for the details statement.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Just a note, that's for the middle school team. She just submitted it.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
you might not have heard me, but I did say for the middle school
No, I
team.
know, but I just
Yeah.
want to make sure the motion was.
Yeah.
That's-
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay. Tim can fix that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay then.
Am I the last on these?
Yes, you have the last of those. Here is, ouch. Okay, how about some administrative reports?
You have anything?
Yep, I have just a little bit.
Okay.
So a few things, just to follow up, you'll probably remember I have invited you many times for the May 24th Summit, and actually Putney had 2 board members who were able to be there, which was great, so thank you Tim and Jamie. The feedback that I've been able to read so far is that it was really well received, and this one that we had in the south, Linda Wheatley, Dottie Morris, Michaela Sims, Diana Wally, and I were part of the planning process, And one of the things that both Michaela and I really insisted on was that we have students be a part of it. In the past times that they have held this, the VPA, students have been invited but not been really a part of the planning and being part of facilitating. So the people at Boys and Girls Club and some of Michaela's students from the high school were table facilitators, and one of the rules was that students had to speak first. And it was really great that students' voice was heard. So all the feedback that I've read has been great. I don't know if Jamie or Tim want to say anything. I know you couldn't go because you had a facilitator.
Yeah, I couldn't come, but I sent somebody in my stead.
Plenty represented from Putney, so.
I thought it was a great event. It was really great to hear from the kids. Really helpful.
Yeah, that was good.
The piece that I loved is I've done a number of trainings, and not all of them have included the exercises that were really built in for self-reflection and communication at the tables. And so I was at a table with young people, teachers, administrators, and it just was, and people in different disciplines, like someone had come down from the north in Burlington who works with students with disabilities. And so just to have that kind of diversity at the table, and we also were he was participating, but I also felt like observing from the grantor who helped fund us.
Yeah.
And so having him as an African-American man there with us to give us perspective, to give us, a couple times he said some hard things to hear, and I said, you should share that with the group because I would have never thought of that. And so it was a really powerful day. And can I go into like names of who was at my table? Or should I not do that?
I don't see why not.
Okay, I had the honor of having Ann's son Spencer facilitate our table, and I called Ann later and was like, holy cow, that kid's got mad skills. So anyway, it was just so cool to get to, I didn't realize it was Ann's son until like halfway through, and I saw his last name, and so all of those pieces were just really powerful, and I appreciated the work that you had obviously put into it.
I'd like to point out that if he has mad skills, he learned them beginning in the middle school leadership conferences.
That's right.
Because he went to every single one of them.
Yep, he was a regular.
Great. Two other quick things. May has been Professional Development Month for me, and I've been very fortunate. In addition to that, the Vermont Special Ed Directors and the Vermont Superintendents Association every spring puts on a joint professional development. This one was on Act 173. Excellent workshops, and a lot of time for us to work as a team. So we had elementary principals, high school principals, special ed, curriculum, all working together to really start thinking about what are we going to do when the special ed funding changes, which last I heard has been delayed a year, so that's helpful. And the other one was a central office administrator professional development, which is the first time that the Vermont Superintendents Association has offered this. And it was a way for us as central office administrators to look at what we can do to better support principals in the school so that they can be better instructional leaders and spend more time in the classrooms by central office people trying to take off some things from their plates. So all excellent professional development for me, so it was good.
Awesome, glad to hear it.
Yeah.
I hope you personally won't take too much off of anyone's plate. Your plate's pretty full.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on from there, we have committee reports, and I can start with diversity.
Herve has something he wants.
Oh, sorry. This is my life right now, Herve.
No, that's fine. Yeah, so just, I'll try to be brief. We've had a lot of course, stuff going on over the past couple of weeks since last we spoke with admin report type stuff. So yes, we had a field day, this week that we hadn't done for several years, so it was really nice. It was phenomenal, actually. Big thanks to the PTO. Ellen Strong in particular went way out of her way to make this possible, as did the master of all planning, Sarah Coughlin. She's just incredible, so I want to give a nice shout out to those folks. We had a number of stations around the building with all sorts of fun stuff. Eric McGowan brought the fire truck to do the Putney style slip and slide on a blue tarp down the back hill. I mean, it was just huge. Well, it was a lot of fun for the kids and the adults too. It was nice to have that. Tons of field trips are happening, some back to back. We can do a field trip. So the Monshire seems particularly popular this time of year. And there's a number of other things that are going on field trip wise. Excuse me. I also wanted to give a shout out to the Food for Kids people who have installed our version of a food pantry. And it's important to note that this is not designed merely for kids who have food insecurity at home. It's designed to support everyone in making healthy choices around food. And the kids get to visit. Thursdays have been the day this year since we instituted it. They have a couple of volunteers who come and help the kids and help the teachers too by chaperoning the kids from the classroom down to the Food for Kids room. They pick a few items and go home happy. It's really great. Another thing that's really been nice this year is our school photo project. I mentioned this before, but Josh Fields and I got together and decided that we wanted to do our own take on school pictures this year. In the past, we'd used an outside vendor, and they were sort of the classic school pictures that you'd expect. Nothing wrong with that, but just we wanted to do something different. And in addition, we did it as a fundraiser. So in the past, we've gotten $200 or so a year, and I just checked the account today, and it's hovering just under $700. And that's going to be earmarked to help support summer camps, which start on the 24th. And are exceptionally well enrolled. I mentioned last time that we had the bus on loan from the Putney School. We're still looking for a driver for that. Word from the bus people is that since it's not a school bus per se during the school year, that a CDL is a sufficient license for that. I'm going to double check that with one of my friends up at the Putney School just to make sure that's accurate. But we will have the bus for the kids who need it for pickup and drop off each day of summer camp, as well as have it available on campus during the day for kids who are destined other places. We have the fishing thing going on. We've got a couple of other things that are off-campus activities.
I might have some names for you.
Oh,
If they're the green Putney school buses, they can be the type 2. If they're the yellow ones, I think that has to be the other kind. But we've got both types of drivers, and sometimes they do work for the campus.
Yeah, so they have a couple of new green ones, and
Yeah.
they've got the old school yellow ones.
Yeah, we've got I think our drivers can drive those because they're technically, anyways. But
All right,
I'll side for both.
Yeah, that'd be great. And finally, the last thing is that we do, thanks to the central office in helping coordinate these things, for several years now, we've done 3 what we call data team meetings each year. And all the teachers get together in various configurations to discuss the interim assessments that we do that have been up until this year, well, actually including this year, based on the Ames Web assessments. That's going to change next year. But what we do is we get together, we look at the scores of the kids on these brief assessments, track them throughout the year, see if there's been interventions that have been invoked at any point during the school year, talk about whether they're successful or not. Teen Reed, who's the math coach for the district, facilitated yesterday along with Brian Bittner, the reading specialist. At various times, Paul Smith has been a big part of that. He wasn't able to come yesterday, but it's an important process for us because what I'm about to lead up to is a result of that conversation yesterday. So our ELA scores, English Language Arts scores, reading primarily for the kids, are across the board really good, really strong, excellent. Math, a little less so. So in conversation with Teen yesterday and talking with the teachers, there was a decision made at that level that we ought to pursue hiring a math specialist to help support K-5 in particular. I immediately, from the meeting, so I wouldn't forget, I sent Lyle an email, and if I'm not mistaken, you said you thought that was a good idea.
Those are exactly my words, right?
Yeah, that's something like that.
Yeah.
So I just want to bring that to the board's attention because I think that while we have Stacy Frazier as an academic support person in the younger grades K-5, her specialty really lies in the reading area, and the scores reflect that she's been able to work in small groups with some of those kids who've been, have the most challenges with acquiring the fundamental reading skills. So we'd essentially like to do the same, but shift how that works just a little bit with the math specialist, who can be a combination of what we would historically refer to as an academic support person, but work in a consultant capacity as well with the teachers, and Teen Reed, who's the district math coach, to say, hey, let's look at this cohort, let's decide how we're going to do this, let's parcel out the responsibilities, who's going to do what, when, and how, and make it happen for the kids. So that's my sales pitch. I think we ought to do it, and I just want, I'll take any questions obviously, but I think it would be a smart move for us moving forward to do that.
Yeah, very much agreed. Is that outside of Title I?
I believe it would be partially funded by Title I, and that percentage varies from year to year, but it's typically been about 75–80%, somewhere. It varies from year to year, but somewhere in that range would be financed by Title I federal funds.
So you're finding a way to pay for it, or do we need to try and get additional?
Looking out here. So the school, or I guess the new district, whichever, I guess it would be the new district, would be responsible for whatever wasn't covered by Title I funding. So you would assume 20 to 25% of the
Meaning
cost.
75% would be covered by Title I?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I imagine there's,
Great use of Title I money.
and I imagine there's enough wiggle room in there for 25% of academic coach.
Yeah, I don't think so. But
So would that
it's
be a
closer to
full-time
that than
coach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a full-time staff
That would be
member?
full-time, based here
Yeah.
at Putney Central, yep.
And you have to run that through central office to deal with the
We
Title I
would-
funds.
Paul Smith would put together numbers for us to see what percentage, where we are with title funding. We, in the last couple of years, due to state and federal slowness, it's sometimes July before we know what our allocation's going to be. But yeah, if he knows, then he can help us put together some
Okay. I mean, I think,
ballpark anyway.
obviously, I think it's a good use of funds.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, I know, and I'm not expecting like an immediate response, except it's an FYI, because, you know, things are changing, right? So I wanted you folks at this place to know, this is the need, as defined by the teachers, myself, and by Teen Reed, who's the district math coach, who's been terrific, by the way. So that's it.
okay.
So I guess just like green light from you at this point, I guess, and then you'll have to see what happens with title funding, right? Once we get the final word from them, beginning of July, hopefully, then it would be in the hands of the new board, I guess, to make a final determination, and we could get it posted and try to get somebody.
So you need a motion and a vote on this, or just a general?
I think it's just an FYI for now, and then when we come
Yeah.
back with some harder numbers, and
By
you,
which point it won't be
Tim,
us.
yeah, you and Tim will have to
Push
sell
for it, sure.
Yeah, so I just want everybody
So it
here.
wouldn't have numbers by the 27th of June?
I can see what we can come up with, but I'd be stunned if we had our
Okay.
allocation numbers.
Just because it would be nice to have a vote on that to recommend to the new merged board from PCS, just a more formal process if possible. The other question I had was, I was noticing the $100,000 allocation that's going to happen for diversity funding, and that discussion is going to be had at the June 25th budget meeting. And so I'm just wondering about how the additions that we've been adding are going to engage with the budget. So is there insight on that? Because
So
we've, I think, had 2 that I'm aware of.
it seemed like when we talked with Frank about that, he thought the teacher, there's enough wiggle room with people's reserve funds and things that are coming in, that we will be able to easily cover the new second grade teacher in the budget.
Yeah, okay.
That was my understanding.
So then the new,
This would be
the money, then we'd have to address that.
Mhm.
And it
Yeah.
sounds like post-budget vote.
Probably.
Okay.
It happens sometimes.
Okay.
For all we try to approve the budget,
Yeah,
stuff
right.
happens. Even
does.
Yeah.
second graders,
Yes, right, yeah, I know, yeah.
which just pushed us over the top, so.
Yeah.
I feel that Herve and Frank have been really responsible with developing our budgets, and they really try to understand the pressures that taxpayers are under, and also, obviously, more importantly, at this point, the pressures that the school is under,
Yeah.
so.
Well, thank you for taking math scores and just how kids are doing with math seriously. So that's great.
Thanks, yeah, it's
And
it's always
please
a
let the
balancing
team know
act.
that we appreciate that they're keeping an eye on that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else?
Let me just check my little crib sheet here. I don't, I mentioned food for kids. No, I think that's it.
And my food for kids anecdote for the day is 2 boys, 5th grade, maybe 6th grade, walking away going, wow, I didn't know vegetables could be that good. That happened
Well,
today.
we have a hard and fast rule that you're not supposed to eat the stuff that you get until you get
I
home,
think it's something.
but it doesn't always stick.
I think it might have been something they had before.
Oh, I see. Cool, good.
Yeah, they were
I'm
not
glad
eating
you're-
at the time, they were
Yeah,
just
it's
commenting.
just been awesome. And you know, the fact that it's accessible to everybody,
Mhm.
so the kids come down, and there's no, discrimination is a strong word, but there's no, looking askance at anybody.
Stigma.
Because because they're doing it, you know, it's like
Yeah.
everybody's doing it.
Everybody's
Of course
doing
we're
it.
doing this.
Yeah, it doesn't indicate that what your financial situation is at all.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Mhm.
I was talking to my dad who works in the schools in a town that shall go unnamed. And the kids who are food insecure have a bag of groceries put on their desks at the beginning of the school day. And to imagine what that would feel like, to have a bag in front of your peers, and I know my son fills up and he just comes home so proud of his food choices, and then we eat his food choices.
Does he help cook? Some of the kids do that. Yeah.
He's still, I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about fire in him. He's 5.
Yeah, right.
Or heat, I should say. No, we're not cooking with fire.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome.
So I appreciate that it's done with that sensitivity in mind.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We had food bags that we used to do, you recall.
I remember the food bags.
And that was a Friday afternoon thing. And they were, you know, the standard issue shopping bags that everybody has now would be packed with food. And there was really no ideal, discreet way to make that happen for kids. So we would just put them on the bus. And then when the kids got off the bus, they'd just grab their bag, which was the best we could do. So this is better.
That's nice.
That was good, this is better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. All right then, are we moving on? Okay, committee reports. Well, diversity did indeed meet yesterday, didn't we? We wrote thank you cards, had some reading suggestions, and we were working on a theme for next year, and I believe we've decided on stand up for equity, or
I wrote it down because I knew I was gonna forget.
I did
Show
too.
up for justice.
There we go, show up for justice. That isn't, I believe that's our working title. And I have been led to believe that a motion will be made from the floor at the June 25th meeting to further fund the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Social Justice. So I hope that the new board will approve that. And, you know, right now, we're just gearing up for next year to plan our next diversity stuff. So, you already gave us a finance report accidentally.
Could
so-
I add to that?
Sure you did, because you were there.
Because I got to go this time, which was amazing and awesome. It's usually a hard time because I have to pick up Noah right then, and so, anyway, I got to go, and I wanted to name that the book that we're gonna be reading over the summer is called White Fragility, and it sounds like we're gonna get copies of it. And I've read sections of it in the past, and it's a great conversation piece around how difficult it is to talk about race and racism in our culture, and particularly how easy it is as a white person, where there's a legacy of human rights abuses towards African people who were enslaved, that there's so much shame around it, and there's so much anger that comes up that it makes it very difficult to have open and frank conversations. And so I think one of the pieces that the book, I'm hoping, not from reading the whole thing yet, but will do for us is create some language that we can have conversations with each other, and versus shutting down and not being willing to have those really hard conversations, where you would have some, you know, we would not be as fragile as that, and have more resiliency in those conversations towards solutions. And I just keep thinking about how excited I am about that it's lining up with the passage of the Ethnic Studies Bill that just passed in March, and what will probably be happening in the state of Vermont, which is curriculum analysis to look at ways that we really examine some of these things across all disciplines. And so, anyway, I'm hopeful that all these things will line up, particularly as we go out of that May 24th training. I just feel like there's so many things that are happening to really create space for us to be transformative in a time that we really need to be. So, anyway, I'm hopeful.
I'm also hopeful. Have you been in touch about the forest?
I have not. I did email Lionel earlier today. I did notice in the PHACT minutes that they mentioned that volunteer work days are the last Sunday of each month, the noon before. So I thought that was worth mentioning.
That's an important thing for the Putney community to know. Again?
Zoom in.
Forest for Learning volunteer work days are the last Sunday of each month from noon to 4 p.m.
There you go.
Your help would be appreciated. And the select board is interested in talking about that because they're currently the holders of the land and the holders of the money. So I expect to have more conversations with that before we're through there. I'm hoping Lionel can move forward a little, because really this doesn't belong to us anymore. I just want to make sure it gets launched correctly.
Right. It's good.
Food project. Anybody?
I think I mentioned last time that the contract was for the fridge freezer unit was awarded to Dampier Electric, and they will do the install, not only of the unit, but manage whatever has to happen with the electrical. There's a fairly significant change that has to happen back there in order to supply adequate electricity, not only to the unit itself, but to the space, which right now is sky space, but will be changing. I spoke with Josh Laughlin, who is going to put together a materials list for me for the building, the shed itself, and my job is to recruit a few people to help me build it, and that'll happen. I've already got a permit. We've had a permit for it for quite a while, so it's not a problem. And then we'll put the shed up, and we'll have an entrance door over by the gym and so forth. We'll get it done hopefully in a reasonable time frame, but that's where we're at. The unit itself can sit outside for up to a year or more. They're gonna weatherize it, probably with some of the Grace Ice Shield or something similar, membrane over the top. And it'll be padlocked, so it'll be secure. And that's the plan, so that's exciting.
It is exciting.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Well, when you can't just write a check,
Yeah.
you gotta do some planning,
Of
right?
course.
Yeah. So that's exciting stuff. Big thanks to Paul Smith for helping coordinate that grant too.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Nothing has changed from my conversations with Steve Head. He said he was gonna reach out to Jen. I'm guessing they're dealing with a lot with the end of the year. I haven't heard further, so I don't have any updates as a part of that work either. And any additional stuff, they were talking about the garden, and I suggested that I'd be happy to help volunteer over the summer, so we'll see.
And a big shout out to Steve Head for coming to that budget meeting
Oh.
and explaining.
Yeah,
Did he explain?
You did.
he put a lot of work into that, and I fingers crossed, once it gets to the magnifying glass crowd, the accountants, that it looks like I think it's more likely than not accurate. So that's a great
That's huge, because $80,000 just looked like, to everyone.
selling point for the
Yeah,
What are
program.
they doing up there?
Yeah, so that's really nice.
Did he create a one-pager or anything, or
Yeah,
was
he
it
did.
verbal?
He
How do
did.
I get a copy of that?
If you want to walk with me when we leave, I think I can
Okay.
put my hands on one and give you.
I would love
give you a
that.
copy.
But he presented it verbally to us, so
He
I
did.
haven't actually
Okay.
seen a one-pager or anything.
Good,
but
I'll
you
watch
should-
the video, because that was taped, was that taped?
Yes.
Okay,
It's up as of today.
it is,
Yeah,
okay,
I
thank
got
you.
that email
He
today.
was working on the numbers. The meeting.
That's great. I talked to him just a couple hours ahead of time, and he was like, still getting the numbers.
It was very effective, and I'm glad that he did it.
Good, that's awesome.
So we've had a small buildings and grounds update. Anything else?
No, just in terms of longish term planning, it's time for us to start thinking about next steps with that playground.
Mm.
It really needs we could think about whether it's a facelift or a lift, because the surround is all pretty much had it. The thing that holds all the wood chips in.
Mhm.
We did replace the decking, it's probably 2 years ago now. I think we replaced all the decking. I did that with Josh Laughlin and Steve Napoli. We worked at that. So it's all secure, it's not unsafe. It's just getting to the point where we're having to reinforce things and, to keep it safe and so forth, so.
Yeah, it's been there a long time. I can't even remember. I know I provided childcare while they were putting it up.
I think it's like 93-ish.
That sounds
Yeah.
maybe about right.
Yeah, it's about 25 years or so. So it's,
It's
yeah,
held up well.
yeah,
But we did that all through donations and
Yep.
community volunteers. Put all that stuff together. And
We'll have to see how we can do that going forward. I don't know what the merge board might have to say, but we
Well,
did just buy a football field, so.
just for the record, since there's a little bit of misunderstanding out there about that aspect of it, fundraising, because they sold bricks and all
Mhm.
sorts of stuff, which were all out there, and then the kids over the years were, being little gophers and digging up the stuff. We have all the bricks that are out there palleted and wrapped with shrink wrap. All of the bricks that had the names on it are still there, right out the middle school entrance, that side. And at some point, I've already talked to Rod about this a little bit, Rod Painmeyer, will decide what's gonna happen with that stuff to where it should go. I mean, it should be somewhere in the general vicinity, but it just doesn't lend itself to an easy solution, particularly if we're gonna start doing something with the surround or whatever. So, it's there, and it hasn't gone anywhere.
No, I believe I've told at least one person that.
I
knew
believe
that they
you
were
have, yeah.
being protected at this point.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all, yeah. Haven't forgotten about it.
Yeah, no, I didn't think you had.
I wondered, there's 2 outbuildings that I've seen that need repairs.
Yeah.
Is there support or funds available for the door on this and then some of the trim on the, what is that, a food building?
Well, we call it the snack shack.
Snack shack?
Um,
I don't know if it's still that way, but I saw when I was behind it, like, a long time ago, a trim issue that needed to be.
Yeah, so, yes, I mean, we do these things fairly routinely out of planned building maintenance funds. A couple of years ago, that had been the property of the Putney Rec League, that building, and then I think it was, 3 years ago maybe?
Okay.
2 years ago, they sold it to us for $1, do you remember that?
Yeah, it was.
Yes. Yeah, so Matt Ewald, so Matt Ewald, who is a carpenter, builder by trade, has been pecking away at some of that stuff. This thing over here is on our list of summer work to do. It was just literally kind of plopped down where it is.
Okay.
And we need to get it leveled up and put some new doors on it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Glad you noticed.
I was thinking about it as I was watching some play happen.
Yeah, well, it's an intriguing place to explore if you're a little kid. Us, not so much, but we have to think that way, yeah.
If people are looking for a model, my kids think the playground at the BF Central School is the best one.
Really?
Well, that one is fairly new, it's really
Very
nice.
new and very.
And they've got those shade things
Yep.
that are nice too, that are
Yeah, it's awesome.
rigid
Is it,
plastic.
where is it? What school?
Belleville Central School.
Okay, I haven't been to that school.
It's right on Atkinson Street.
Yeah, it's right at the
Okay.
four-way stop sign at Atkinson, and I'm not sure what the cross street is there. But,
It's not school, it's whatever. you
it's
can go
right
around
there.
that block.
yeah. You can
With
see it
the
very well.
Meeting Waters YMCA that's sort of falling down as freshman.
Have you ever gone to the Walpole playground?
Yeah, I've seen that.
I'm just guessing what the price tag on that thing is, but every time I go there, I'm like, na 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 na. It's like, I feel like the Lion King should be like chanted as we all kind of go all around it. It's amazing.
Well, I think it's the Ken Burns playground. but don't
Oh,
tell
is
me.
it? Okay.
Don't tell me I said that.
That's
Yeah.
kind of what I was thinking, but I didn't want to say it.
Well, the dairy over there, I think the dairy and heat
Yeah, it's
combined
Hubbard,
forces.
Hubbard Farm.
Yeah, to
They have the
make that
ball
happen.
field there too.
With the
It's
pool
a
and
really
everything.
nice field too.
It's quite something.
It's warm.
You know, if a celebrity moves into Putney, we may be all set
Yeah,
for a
right.
similar.
Yeah, how can we get that to happen?
I don't know.
Just go play on it, that's all I'm saying.
That's nice.
Yeah, everybody I know that's famous is only a little bit famous.
Oh lordy.
I do in fact know people who are a little bit. Indeed, my husband is a little bit famous. Yeah, he doesn't have the money to get a playground. Is there anything from PHACT besides the...
Not really. I got the minutes from the May 16th meeting. They were mostly reviewing sort of successes they had in upcoming events as of the 16th, almost all of which had passed. So, and they went well.
Oh, good.
So,
Awesome.
Can I just ask how our committees are going to be nurtured moving forward in the new merge board?
You can ask, but we don't know.
Okay.
We're going to have to feel our way through, but they're very heavily school-based to begin with. The presence of the
Yeah.
school board on them is just so we can actuate
Yeah.
the ideas that
Our
are,
conduit,
yeah.
yeah.
Because, you know, they can say, hey, let's do this, but they can't
Right.
say it unless we say, hey, yeah, let's
Yeah.
do this.
Right.
Hi. So that's
Yeah.
the primary involvement that the school board has been in. I don't really know what to expect yet.
Yeah.
I know that people are concerned about the leadership councils, but the article that we're putting in there is purposely kind of vague because the point of it is to establish it now because it didn't exist in the default articles of agreement. And that was a really great thing that came out of the study committee was the leadership councils. And we wanted to make sure that wound up back in our articles of agreement, even though we weren't clear yet on what shape that was going to take. You know, like,
I think actually as of our last meeting, we were discussing moving forward with leadership councils as a board policy, simply to put off having to have the article vote because of the expense of the voting
Yeah,
and
so
multiple elections.
we may do it as a policy, but we do want to put it on
Okay,
the Articles of Agreement eventually. They can be amended.
okay.
as I hope everyone is quite aware.
Mhm.
Which segues us beautifully into Act New Business, which includes Act 46 updates. Legislative, obviously, we know what the last word on that is for this legislative session. Legally, while Wyndham was denied an injunction, they still won their vote.
That
by
was
a
amazing.
landslide.
Front page of the Reformer today,
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
500 to 100. And they did the commingling, everyone voted in their towns. They
Yes.
picked them up, they drove them to central location, they counted them.
Yeah, but they
Go
haven't,
figure.
the vote was broken out by town, and
Yeah.
every town voted to let Wyndham.
Yeah, Wyndham couldn't have outvoted everybody on that, so.
Yeah, I think the word got out that they were trying to, well, I watched all the videos, and I've commented on that board before, and they were like really pushing it, and we're doing it because we can, because we want to, and there was one board member who regularly spoke up and said, we don't have to have this vote. You know, you're trying to force Wyndham to do something they don't want to do.
It's so interesting to call votes that don't actually get
They didn't have,
respected. I just, that process, in this whole process, that in itself has been one of the major problems, to call for votes that are ignored. It's amazing to me. Or that were never intended to create a space for dissent. It's really very fascinating.
well, they had a choice as to whether to hold that vote or not.
Yeah.
They didn't have to.
Yeah, the way the legislation was written, it was not up to the towns to vote on it, and
So
any more than if they outlawed, I don't know, silver earrings or something. It
It's so
wasn't up
fascinating.
to any town go, no, silver earrings are fine in our town. Right? So
Yeah.
we
I
were
get it,
voting on
but-
acceptance or rejection of the articles. Well, I'm pretty sure.
Why?
That is a conversation that involves alcohol. And lack of candles. And I don't drink. Just saying. Yes, for those of you who've had a glass of wine with me in the past, I know that you don't believe me, but yeah, no, it's true.
Congratulations, that's good.
It's not, it wasn't really a choice. My body went, yeah, you're not allowed to do this anymore. So that's why I don't. And I have with me the thing that Inez wanted to sign, so wanted us to sign that we agreed on. So please don't leave without signing it if you intend to sign it.
Could I just name what that is? Because to me, it's not what Inez wanted us to sign.
No, it's,
Yeah.
that's why I said
Yeah.
what we agreed to.
Oh, okay, yeah, good. Because I want to
But
be.
she wanted us to actually sign it.
Oh, sign it. Oh, yeah, I see what you mean,
Yes.
yeah. Just that we are gonna give our amicus letter in support of the case, and we've got that to sign tonight.
Okay, the budget meeting went swimmingly. Just, the people who were there were interested in what we had to say, they asked questions,
That's great.
and they were comfortable with the answers, as nearly as I can tell. So,
I was so grateful you were there. Thank you. Were you there too?
I wasn't able to be
Were you
there.
there, Liz?
Hmm?
Thank you three for being there. That's awesome. And Lyle, were you part of
I
that too?
was not, it was
You
the
weren't?
Career Center Awards. It
Oh,
was
okay.
Amazing,
Yeah.
actually.
and it,
Well, thank you to you
we're
three
in sure
for.
to say I'm sorry for not being there.
Oh, so nice.
Also, because I've been cold all spring.
Yeah, that's great. I'll tell Steve too. Thank you for all his work.
And I'd like to particularly give a shout out to Christina Naylor, who explains the school funding and taxation system better than anyone I've ever heard. Anyone. Not accountants can explain it as well as Christina can. No one can. We ought to get her on video.
Yeah,
So just
yeah.
play it when people ask. There's Christina explaining.
She does a really good job.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
That's awesome.
And
I'm gonna try to go to this Tuesday. I didn't have Care for the Kids this past Tuesday, but this coming Tuesday, I think I'm gonna try to get there. And then, we've got, childcare now, which is really exciting for the June 25th thing.
oh, okay.
And so, I'll be at the June 25th one too.
Christina did indeed tell people that she was 98% sure we had childcare for that meeting.
Yeah.
I confirm.
Lyle worked on that quite a lot.
Thank you very much, Lyle, because you don't have enough to do. I'd like you to come wax my floor.
I'm gonna do my own thing.
Yeah, I don't have any waxable floors, actually. And the role of this school board going forward continues as it was, to tie up loose ends as long as we're authorized to do so. And I'm unclear about that. We definitely dissolve on June 30th, and if anything comes up, oh well, too bad, so sad.
My understanding is you dissolve on June 30th, but then if, like audits need to be approved, things like that, then we'll need to warn a meeting and.
So you may in fact be recalled
Up until
the
December.
until the end of the year, so, yeah. But I can't tell you that I don't anticipate it, because I can't imagine what might pop up.
Yeah, and that's an unknown, we just don't know.
Do we want to continue to meet occasionally, not as a formal board, but
If we're dissolved, I mean,
just to keep in
because
touch
everything is such
and,
legal limbo, it
Yeah,
seems
that's-
like perplexing to me.
I don't mind us staying in touch, but the idea of meeting formally concerns me on a legal level.
Right, I'm thinking informally, like, because you and Tim are on that board, and also because we just don't know what's gonna happen down the road. So just to keep in touch.
Also, we still sort of
What are we
exist,
doing?
but we have to warn meetings?
Yes, we would
Because-
have, we
But I don't understand.
No,
Yeah,
we're
because
not.
I mean, if we're all in the grocery store on July 15th at the same time,
As
that,
long as we don't
Are
talk
we-
about board business.
yeah,
we're fine.
actually, Ricky Davidson
But are
holds
we
that opinion, if we all
so
run into
it
each
seems a
other.
little black and white to me though. You either are dissolved or you're not dissolved.
Well,
Unless
thank
there's a gray area.
Yeah.
Like,
So there are
I
way
see you
more
at the
than-
grocery store on the 15th, I either walk away or I engage as a regular citizen talking to my representatives to the merge board. To me, that's a pretty clear distinction. to
Yeah,
me.
I hadn't thought about it that way, but yes, you
Is
are.
there?
Yeah, there
I mean-
is, just because that was actually, I saw Ricky say that on camera once, if we all run into each other at Hannaford's, we should warn a meeting.
I think that's where I got that from.
God, that was a long time ago.
I think
don't
you
remember.
told me that
Yeah,
story.
And so I don't know when that lets up.
So what's the answer to that?
I would think that you really wouldn't have to worry because you're not,
Dissolved.
We're not doing board business.
not doing any kind of board business, you wouldn't be making any kind of motions, you're not making any decisions, you're not spending any money, you're not taking action on anything, so.
So I guess after the 30th, we could stand on the front lawn and yell, "School governance," and,
Yeah.
and get away with it without warning it.
School government.
I was just trying to think of something fairly neutral that we shouldn't be talking about if we run into each other at the grocery store.
School government.
Like yesterday, didn't warn that, so I was like, nope, we can't talk about any business, this is a party. And that's literally all it was. We painted out some things, we clapped for some people, we went home.
You mean our honoring of the retirees?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Well, it didn't occur to me to warn it, even though there were 3 of us here, but again, we did not
Right, you
meet.
didn't, yeah.
We
You didn't take
attended,
any action.
Right.
yeah, we attended
We handed out, we can say it publicly now.
our beautiful Putney Central Hearts.
Oh, you should tell. You should say what happened. Like, Bob Birch's glass hearts got given to 5 retirees or people who left.
Yeah, as
That was our secret executive session.
Yeah, we did just so it wouldn't be on camera before it actually happened. But we never do that except for
Yeah.
cute little things like that.
Did the nurse ever get hers?
I talked to her today. I assume she did, yeah.
Nice. It was sad that she wasn't there.
Sarah took care of
Yeah, I brought her back to the office after we were done. And,
How many years?
it. 11 for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and if anyone checks out Bob Birch's work online, it is just
It's
beautiful.
amazing.
And it's nice to patronize a local artist, and it's all a beautiful warm circle hug, so one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
And who was it? Was it the PTO that had all the flower baskets.
The flowers were from the PTO, yeah, that's been a traditional gift from the PTO as well, since I've been
Yeah, as long as I can
PTOing,
remember.
so,
Yeah,
which was, like, I got there a year before you
yeah,
got hired, so.
so 10 years.
My granddaughter was giving me the evil eye. She's like, because Lisa forgot to tell her, with the line and the mass cell garbage going on, but I just like looked at her side of my eye, and she was like glaring at me. And then Herve said who we were, and her friends are going, hey, that's so cool. I don't know how she missed it.
I love it.
I know.
I love it.
I just, I'm like, oh, I'm dead.
Okay, Lyle corresponded with Attorney Osher for us regarding the transfer of property, and I had that email open and I closed it.
I think I might have tagged it. I've got it up here if you want to look at it.
And no, I can always get
Okay.
it again. I just,
Okay.
There it is. No, that's famous. There are specific things we need to do. The transfer process should simply involve a quick claim deed and a Vermont property transfer tax return for each building. And I am unclear about whether we need our own attorney for this or whether we can do it all together as with the SU.
Well, what happened to the town having a sale?
Town having a say over what?
Whether we sell this property or don't?
I believe Act 46 removed that ability from the town. I do not know yet whether I have the legal right to do it. And thus far haven't been willing to drop $175 on my personal attorney to do it.
Right.
I guess I'm really curious about, it was my understanding that Putney Central School had to get legal advice on this because of the constitutionality issue. So I don't understand. The constitutionality of what has come up all over the state is the transfer of property without a town vote is the sticking issue, and that's been coming up in communities all over the state. So I didn't get that far. Can we just read this?
Oh,
Can we read this? So assuming that each to be merged town school district is agreeable to deeding its real and personal property, some dissenting districts are resisting, feeling they should be compensated at fair market value. Then the transfer process should simply involve, I don't think that's the only dissent, I think it's also the constitutionality issue. Then the transfer process should simply involve a quitclaim deed and Vermont property transfer tax return for each building. A transfer of certificate of title for each titled vehicle and possibly a bill of sale for any other non-titled items of personal property. There should not be any tax, but an information return has to be filed nonetheless. If more than one conveying district is involved, we would need a copy of each deed in and a copy of each implicated certificate of title. But once we have all that and a sufficiently detailed understanding of the terms of the transfer generally, we should be able to conduct the process from Burlington without the need for a title search. On the other hand, if the receiving unified district should wish to title search, a bit more work would be involved. This last issue points up the need for clarity around the question, who is the client? In a predetermined deal such as this, the conveying and receiving districts are not adverse parties in the traditional sense, but clear disclosure is important in any transaction in which even potentially adverse interests are implicated. If this does not answer your questions, we can arrange for a call. So I guess the question I was having was, how do you address that? And do you know what others have?
You are the first ones that have asked, so I
Okay.
told
Nobody else asked?
Yeah. But I did let Christina Naylor know that Ann and I had talked, and I told her I would share this information with her.
Okay.
Because I feel like it's something we probably should be talking about in each school, but also at the WSESD board as well.
And that's one of the issues that Mallow's supposed to rule on soon.
Right, but when he will rule is up to him, so.
Right, it was expected to be yesterday.
But
It
nothing,
didn't,
it would have made,
apparently didn't happen.
yeah, it would have made one of the news sources, and I read
Right.
everything.
Because that is, it clashes with Vermont law. We've got two conflicting laws going like this.
That is an issue. I mean, some of the issues that were raised, I understand why they're moot, and I'm not trying to be obstructionist in this particular case. I can be very obstructionist if I have to be, but I don't know legally if I have the right to sign that paper,
Yeah.
and I'm concerned about that.
Out of curiosity, has AOE given any direction on this, or, you know, I mean, it seemed like
Sign
before
the
they were like.
paper.
Sign here
Here, let me
now.
open that email in my head. Tick, 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 tick. If it's in violation of the Vermont
Yeah.
Constitution, sign
It
it.
just sounded to me like previously they were sort of saying like, oh, don't worry, this will sort of happen organically. And so it doesn't sound like what my daughter was saying.
I'll try Donna Russo Savage again. Her answer generally is contact your attorney, which is
So
why
does-
I did not. I just contacted the attorney, but I'll go back and go through that
There's
stuff
two
again.
conflicting.
So who actually owns our deed? Is it, like, do you have it in your office or is it at
No,
the
it's
town
at the
clerk?
I don't know.
So
This is
then,
the Putney
Town School District. Which
Yeah.
is separate.
That's
so the
how it's-
town has the deed?
That's right.
Okay, so this is an email from Jonathan Johnson, the town clerk, when I asked the question. He said, as we discussed, in order for the Putney Town School District to transfer the school building to the new unified district, I will need a deed and a property transfer tax return, per what Andrew said. There's a $10 per page recording fee for the deed and an additional $10 for the form PTT. Typically, a lawyer would be hired to prepare the deed and tax return and make sure all are properly documented in Putney land records. So that, and then there was also a discussion that some ways that this has been dealt with is in a lease, that you could actually temporarily lease it until that legal situation is resolved, that the town of Putney can lease the school to the merged district until resolution of these issues is figured out. So that might be, I mean, that's something that I think we need to go to a lawyer for, so I guess I'm wondering if the town of Putney should go to their lawyer. Right?
The new board should also talk about it. I think Christine, well, of course Christina knows
I
that.
hope she will, yeah.
So I don't know what Dummerston's intending to do. My guess is nothing, but I don't know.
Yeah, and the other problem that we would have is if we need to hire our own lawyer, we're gonna need to get that requisition in like yesterday.
A requisition is a request for,
To pay them.
Although, well, Ottinger, we did it as an
Yeah.
SD, not as Putney. So I'll talk with Christina, I'll talk with Donna Russo Savage, I'll communicate with you and see, you know, what should our next steps be. Maybe it's you and Christina and I sit in the same room and we have a phone conference with Ottinger so that he can walk us through this, but I'll see what Donna Russo Savage, what others have done. Is it simple, these are the forms, fill these out, take them to the town, pay the fee.
Right, but again, I need an answer to whether I can do this.
And
And it's not specifically the town that owns this property, the school district owns this property, which is a separate legal entity from the town of Putney. I'm just trying to make sure you understand.
I mean, that's what I figured, which is
Yeah.
why, so who hires the lawyer to find out if you're getting sued by the 300 people who voted against this, and then they find out your signature's on a document and transfer it over for $1.
Oh,
like
that's
how-
already.
How
yeah.
do we, I mean, these, and then,
They just made a whole mess of it. And I think the board this should be on your agenda because I know, pretty sure what Christina's gonna tell you. But the board may wanna just do the leasing. So far, statewide, not one forced merged area has conveyed their property. Not happening.
That's
Not a happening thing.
that's
And
just
because
amazing
of
to
the
me.
clash of laws.
Yeah.
They made one law, but they
That's a big
forgot
deal
that there was
right there.
another law in the book. So that's that's one of the issues, just one of the issues, but it's a major issue in that case.
Do you feel your blood pressure increasing? Because mine is.
I do not feel my blood pressure increasing. I'm just concerned that we need to authorize funds to pay a lawyer if we need to pay a lawyer. So maybe if you and Christina and I could talk sooner rather than later, we can call an emergency meeting to authorize paying a lawyer and we can pick a lawyer. Yeah, we have several lovely options in this town. And attorneys who've done work for us in the past, so.
Well, I would like, considering we're still figuring out what's gonna happen in the next couple of weeks, to go on record that I am very concerned that there has been articulated in district after district that this is unconstitutional and that school boards do not have the right, outside of a vote of the community, to sell their school in a forced merger to a new body. And when I have articulated this to people in our community, what is happening, nobody understands what's happening. And I had a very simple conversation with my 80-year-old neighbor, and she said, "What?" And so it's just amazing to me every time I explain the details of how this is going down.
Should you continue your journey through school governance, you will find this is generally the case. People find out about something a nanosecond before it's going to happen, and despite the fact that it was posted 12 places and it's been in the paper,
Right.
apparently one's constituency expects one to show up with personal invitations.
I get that, but considering we've been paying attention and reading, and we're still going, what?
Well, that's because the law is subject to interpretation, always. That's why we have judges. Otherwise, it would be pretty clear.
Right.
I will talk with Lyle and Christina, find out what we can find out. If we need to authorize some funds to pay an attorney, we will do that, and we can discuss who we'd like to hire. Again, I expect it more matters who has time and take care of this one way or another, but I cannot sign it without valid legal information. And I don't know if you guys are supposed to sign it too. It's been the chair, like when we sold the forest, I could swear only Alice signed off on that.
That's
But we did have a town vote for that.
Yeah, and the town approved it.
Yes, the town did approve that one, and we did do it, but only Alice, I believe, signed that deed. So, without legal advice, I can't do that, and I'm not trying to get in the way of anything, just trying to, well, I can't afford to be sued. So, there's that. Okay. Do we feel like we're in a, like, as far as we can go kind of place with that?
Yeah.
That's sort of how I'm feeling.
Thank you for doing that research.
Yeah, thank you very much, and we can talk. And the only thing I have under other is that I made classroom visits today, and this place rocks like it always has. I've had some wonderful conversations with teachers today, with some of the kids. I watched the first and second grade. They took off on a field trip, and I still got to spend a few minutes with them. Yeah, it was a very busy day here at Putney Central.
I'm so sorry.
No, it was fine. It's better to do it, like, even if we came together, we would have split up. We don't all just, like, 5 of us troop into this classroom and say, "So, Amanda, teach!" You know, we don't do that.
Well, I actually have a question. I want to admit, and this is where I wish we weren't taping this, I forgot that it was today, and I had meetings all day, And so I didn't know if I could get permission to do it on Monday, because I really wanted to do it. So I don't know what process.
You could, but I will tell you in advance, and you're welcome to come and check in, but it is the last day of school.
Monday?
I know.
Oh,
Give me a
you
second. Give me a
mean,
second.
I know, I was like, what?
It's essentially the last day of school, right?
Yeah, right,
Tuesday is just
right.
half day, right? So you're welcome to come, but
Or I
it's
guess
not-
maybe tomorrow. I potentially have care for
Well,
the other
I mean,
one.
if you-
I guess I didn't know, I just realized what I did at 3 o'clock and I was like, oh my gosh, it's the 13th.
Yeah,
So,
so it's up to you. I mean, if
Okay.
you want to do that, or let me know in the morning if you're gonna do that.
okay.
So I can
Can
let people know.
Can I
so it's
text you or
just-
something?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And just so I
Sorry
can
for
give
that.
people a
My
heads up
apologies,
that,
because I really wanted it.
because some people might not know you, so,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
It's like, who's this person walking into my classroom kind of thing.
I do not want a lockdown as a result of that.
I did get enough strange looks that I considered putting on my BUHS badge, just because it would make me look like, oh, somebody from the school district, that's all.
Yeah.
But
right.
no, everybody's very friendly here, so it was a very quick,
Yeah,
hey, I'm from
sure.
the people who didn't know me.
Good.
And I knew most of them.
I'm sorry about that, yeah. Thank you for doing that.
I walked in on a terrific little language lab today.
Oh,
And
they, yeah.
Big shout out to Aiden, I'm impressed. The students were illustrating German names for animals, which are very, very funny. Like, an armadillo is a belt animal. That's what, German is a weird language made up of different words stuck together. And a bat is a fluttermouse. And
Oh.
turtle is a shield toad. And so that's what they were doing, like they find out the German word for an animal and they, some of them are boring, like panther is panther, but there's lots of very funny ones and they were illustrating the funny ones.
That's awesome.
I know I had to learn a word in German once that literally took a line and a half of a piece of standard notebook paper.
Uh-huh.
A line and a half. And that's like going out to 80s German is beautiful, because we had a conversation and it's lovely. Perfect. And I believe on the further subject of other, I have something to turn over to Lyle.
All right, thank you. So, being that it's unknown what happens with this board, I wanted to recognize you all tonight. I'm not sure if I'll be back, depending upon when we meet again, and I might be, I might not be. So, first is Ann Beekman for 6 years of service as school board director, clerk, vice chair, and chair. So, thank you very much. Liz Adams, school board director. For 2 months.
Reach across your
And Jamie Comtois as school board director and vice chair. Thank you. You're welcome. Tim Morse during your years of service as school board director and clerk.
Thank you.
And Sergio during 2 years of service as school board director. So, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
It's been a joy to work with you.
We did this
Thank
last
you,
night
Lyle,
at
for
the high
doing that.
school,
That's really
and there were numbers like after 17 years of school.
There were a lot
I really
of
felt,
us, right?
I feel like a pro on the high school board, just like 3 years. I guess if you add 3 and 6, I get 9.
That's right, yeah.
Does anyone have anything else they would like to talk about this fine evening?
I just wanted to know where we're at with leadership councils, because last time I had registered interest, because you said there's going to be a policy examined. And so I had put in just a plug, because we're wrapping up here, that we do that in August, like we just had discussed potential of starting that process in August, so we're in place for September. So I just wanted to talk about that in more detail.
I just jotted down what I had for my minutes.
Yeah.
What I wrote down was that we discussed creating leadership councils through board policy rather than through an article of agreement. We'll discuss it the next 2 meetings with suggestion that public meetings be held to get public input regarding makeup of the board and duties.
So what I've requested, all administrators is that they should start thinking about how they want to get teachers involved, either through teachers nominating each other and then voting, or teachers volunteering, or if they want to make it part of, every school has a whole list of committees and people sign up for, and maybe it's a list of committees, but we'll leave that up to them. And then to start reaching out to parents and community members. My suggestion was to start with PTFO. If you already have a group, not all schools have a group that's active, but that would be a place where you could reach out. And that we're still working on, as you just heard from Tim, we're still working on what the actual role will be, but one of the things that we talked about last Friday at our admin meeting was that it's a really good way to get people together and really start talking about how can we have really authentic parent engagement activities to get parents and community members into the school. Some schools are very good at it, not every school is. So that would be one of the topics that I would suggest they would certainly want to make sure that they're working on. So still more to come.
Yeah. I was looking at the charge of school boards and just thinking about what gets lost in this transition from the 25 people, or 28 people that were on the 5 distinct school boards into 8 people, for 10 schools. And so I was just envisioning that vision component that school boards are asked to do, to work with the community to create the vision. And I just wondered what our last process had been to kind of examine and survey parents. Does anybody remember the history of how we've gone through that process at Putney Central School?
We have sent out actual surveys before.
Yeah, so every year we have a tab, the school climate survey.
Okay,
Some variation on that theme.
yeah,
There's one for kids and there's one for parents.
Yeah.
The one for parents asks about questions like, I feel my child's getting an adequate
Yeah.
education.
Yeah.
Things like that, just to sort of gauge what the general sense of the school is. The students are asked questions primarily about school climate. I have at least one adult in the building that I can turn to. School buses are safe. Any number of different questions that the kids answer each year. And we actually were working, our own leadership team is working on putting the final touches on an update of the continuous improvement plan for the school. And that will, those sorts of documents will be attached as addenda to that. And that's one of the primary vehicles through which Title I funding is allocated, so that we get that to the state, the AOE.
okay,
They may or may not review it, but at least they know they have it, and
Yeah.
they check the box.
yeah,
And once that box is checked, Paul Smith can go into his office and start banging away on the keys, getting those all-important dollars for title programming, Title I and Title IIA and so forth. That's how that works.
Has there ever been a time where it's been more expansive in the visioning process and than the questions that I've seen as a parent here? Has there been, I didn't know,
When we've had something specific, we've
something's
actually
been gone.
surveyed.
Yeah, so there's been like
before.
information sessions, for example,
Yeah.
the school forest is an excellent example of that.
Okay,
There was a number of opportunities for people to not only get up to speed on it from an information standpoint,
yeah,
through the newsletter, et cetera, but also, it was at least, I think there was 2 information sessions about it. One I remember was really well attended, and there was a lot of good questions about, how should we manage the school forest in view of Act 46, and what should we do about that?
was that a number of years ago?
No, that was
That was
just,
recent?
yeah, that was last year or a year and a half
year.
ago. I think it was about 18 months
Okay.
ago, maybe, at the
Okay,
most.
so post the vote.
Well, yeah, so in terms of the visioning piece that
Okay.
you're asking about, it's sort of like, okay, so what are we
Okay.
gonna do?
Okay,
What
got
are
it.
we gonna do with this, right? Because
Got it.
now we're confronted with this set of expectations.
Okay.
And the overarching theme there basically was that we wanted to preserve that. essentially into perpetuity for use as an educational resource by the school. So there's an example of it right there.
Right. A lot of the community outside of the school felt very strongly about that too.
Yeah. Where do you get the notes from that meeting to show what the outcomes were
Well,
and who the attenders were? Or was it on BCTV?
no, it wasn't on DCTV. It was held in the gym here at PCS, and I would imagine that there were notes taken. I don't know if there would have been minutes and
There should have been minutes.
school board
Yeah,
type
I
stuff.
think there were.
I think there were.
Was
but-
it considered a school board?
Yeah,
Meeting?
There was
warned
a
it.
board meeting.
and
Yeah, it
was
was.
formal and-
Yeah,
But open to
Oh,
the
heck, I
town.
might have even done the minutes because Emily was
maybe.
clerk at the time, but she was,
Oh.
She was intimately
Person,
involved
so-
in that
Can I
process.
get a date for that so I could go back and read it?
sure,
Okay.
tomorrow.
Yeah, not
Possibly Monday. Because that will
Or
involve,
maybe in the next week.
that will
I
involve
just,
me flipping through
yeah. I
pages
got it.
and pages of minutes till I find
Oh
it.
my God, I'm
I
sorry.
mean, they might still be on the website, but I'll still have to figure out
Oh,
what date that
God.
was.
I would just love to see that, especially as
Sure.
Lyle's dealing with everything right now.
Yeah, then the other thing.
Not Lyle, Lionel.
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 It's like a-
Yeah.
So why
Please
was
don't
like,
bring that to the
Oh
first.
my God.
Lionel was a miracle dropped from heaven on that
Yeah, he
course.
really- yeah.
Because
He's done.
right up his alley, what he does, like in life, and
Yeah. So the other thing that comes readily to mind too is Ann will recall this, I'm not sure, I don't think Sergio was part of the board at the time, but we did the strategic planning process with the vouchers.
he
We do
wasn't.
that professionally.
Yeah, we had,
What years was that?
That was
that was
probably
2013, I think.
5 years ago maybe?
I'm pretty sure it was 2013.
Okay,
It
so
wasn't,
6 maybe?
because as I recall, I had just joined the board and I had an
Yeah.
8-hour meeting in my first week on the board. I should have known what I was in for that day.
That was a
No, it
full
was-
day. It was a
Yeah,
retreat
It was a
type
full
thing.
day, it was
Yeah,
Steve and Jim about this is how they've made their living. They are professional visioning organizers that are hired by corporations.
Consultants, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. So that's another piece. that
Okay.
was- that
yeah, we had a
so-
strategic plan.
yeah.
I get
At 46,
part
kind
of-
of kicked it to the curb.
Well, the reason I'm asking is I'm just imagining how I would love to apply for the Leadership Council and how to support, because when I saw that part of the school board job, had Act 46 not happened, I was looking forward to serving my 3-year term. And so I was really thinking about what I could do to do that piece that we've talked about, is how do you build that connection between the community and the school? And because of some of the skills that I have, I thought I could volunteer as a part of the Leadership Council to support that next step. So I just wanted to put the plug in so that you get the whole summer to ruminate on it. And if there's been processes by which we've done that work in the past, I think that would be great just to know, or if you know of how other schools are doing it, just what tools might be available. Because I feel like that might be a piece that gets lost as 8 people are in charge of 10 schools.
Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine the administrative reports.
Yeah.
That's just, that
Well,
cannot
they have to
work.
be brief
I've
and
already got
succinct.
that.
Well, see, I'm used
You're
to,
not
be-
coming, you're not even coming.
I'm-
You're not coming.
I'm used to taking 3 of them
Take the
at
night
the
off.
school, at
Thank
the high school,
Yeah.
and that can be long enough,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
at
Right.
No,
other
I've got a
primary
template
schools,
that I'll be giving all of them and
Yeah.
insisting that I have them the week before the meeting so that I can create a packet so they all look the same and they all
Quick
go out.
updates, yeah.
They all
Sounds
go
good.
out early. Yeah.
I too would like to put in
Yeah,
a
so
plug to be
I-
on there because I have a lot of people, older people than you, who ask me, what is going on? What is going on? And this whole thing, the community of Putney seems to have been lost, the community outside the school. You know, and I would really like to be a conduit for that part. And
Yeah, I mean,
you
we'll
know,
have to see how the vision of the unit, of the group itself takes shape. I mean, everybody's gonna come to the table, maybe not everybody, but, you know, people will come with their perspective and their sense of what might be important and worth talking about. And we're gonna have to sift through that and make a prioritized list of things. My vision for it includes having teachers on board, obviously, which is, sort of standard. We have 3 vertical teaching teams here. I'd like to get 1 person from each of those teams, representative from special ed, one of the special ed teachers, probably the school counselor. I would like to convince Stacy Frazier to come on board as the facilitator for the meetings, so that we stick to our agenda and we stick to time frames that we commit to, with an idea that if we don't resolve it this time, we'll get to it next time, unless it's a particularly critical issue, which we'll have to see how this comes up. I don't see critical issues in terms of a decision-making process. That's not the place. I don't think that's the place. I mean, we've had a long-standing leadership team here. Ever since I've been here, we've had a leadership team. Met today. We meet every other Thursday, and talk about some of the nuts and bolts stuff of what's going on. For example, updating the continuous improvement plan. We're finalizing that. Gonna get that out probably by Monday. So stuff like that. What we're gonna do with, how we were gonna manage the 28 second graders. The whole conversation evolved out of that group, looking at that and saying, okay, what should we do? And gathering input, around that, so.
Right.
Playground would be a really good topic for that.
Playground would be an excellent topic.
For that
Yeah.
group to take on.
Yeah.
Looking at it, planning,
Yeah,
sending Jamie out to Walpole to take dimensions.
How we could fund it,
Conversation
All the
with
trees.
neighbors.
how we could fund it, yeah,
Right.
which is the big one. I mean, playgrounds, you could drop a couple of $100,000 on a playground, like, not even thinking about it, so it's an issue.
But I think part of the vision of the leadership council is also community. The article as it's written now, which isn't,
It's about community relationships, yeah, and
and-
building the community into
Right,
the school.
it's, everything Herve said, but also, outside, people from outside the school, parents, they want a broad spectrum
Yeah.
on these
Absolutely.
things.
Yep.
And
I agree, but if we,
Can't have 40 people.
yeah, we
No,
cannot,
right.
I cannot
No.
sit in a meeting that's a PTO meeting where, 40 people are
Right.
there telling you.
No.
But no, I think we should paint it blue. Well, clearly green is the correct answer. I don't have that much time in my life.
Right.
'Cause I'll have it at
Is
all
that
the
how
other
PTO
schools.
meetings are?
No, but that's how any meeting can be.
Oh.
Have you ever been to like a Unitarian annual congregational?
I keep looking for the meeting with 40 people around here.
Oh, there have been, but you've never been here during a fight like that. Yeah. Or, it could be because something exciting is happening, that there have been large turnouts.
Yeah, so, I guess just the shorthand from my perspective is we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And we'll do the best we can to make it work and not have it be a cumbersome enterprise where people don't want to be part of it, So we need to be careful of that.
Yeah.
Hence my suggestion of having a facilitator, keep us on task and on time.
their fear is that you won't get anybody on it because they don't have any, these councils don't have any, leadership councils don't have any power over the board, and that's been expressed by the,
I don't know.
Well, that's not going
We'll
to
see.
change any more than the PTO has the power over this board.
right.
The power that
Right.
people have is
They
to
will-
elect new representatives. That is all that they have.
They were worried about getting other people.
Well, remember-
Lack of volunteers.
Remember,
for
I
these
chair
things.
this board and I have no student in this school.
Yeah.
And we have had other members who did not have students in the
Right,
school.
right.
So I don't anticipate that
So
changing.
I see it, I see it as another
Mhm.
forum for people to take input, try to make some plans for people to take responsibility and follow through on particular, not only just the playground as an example, but that could be an example of, hey, we're gonna have a playground group that's gonna go after this and try to make this happen. Who do we need to talk to? Who do we need to pull into the conversation? That sort of thing. I've talked to a couple of people in the community. Some people are not here all year, so, this, well, I can come, and so we gotta think about what that might look like,
Yeah,
so.
and you obviously don't want 40 people, but
We'll figure
you
it out.
want a process.
We'll figure it out.
And Jimmy, if you want to see what can happen if we ask everybody a bunch of questions, the report that this board sent to the State Board of Education has a survey attached on the back, on the end of it.
Oh, yeah, I did this, yes.
It's a very
Yeah.
long report, so if you
I
never
did
got
that
there.
survey.
Yeah. But the report is very, very long. and
Yes.
So if you never got to the end to read it, that was in a great shot.
Yeah, I did not read everyone's responses to that. I only have one last thing and then I'm done. Anybody else before I do another thing?
No.
I just wanted to name that Laura Chapman, who is our select person,
Thank you.
on Wednesday night, the 19th, is bringing, what does she call it? The resolution of the select board of the town of Putney to create an equity and inclusion committee in the town of Putney. And it says, it is the goal, the purpose is to identify and address inequities and encourage inclusive practices in town services, programs, human resource practices, decision-making processes. The goal is to ensure that all residents and town employees receive equal treatment and opportunity regardless, but not limited to, race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, income, wealth, veteran status, sexual orientation, age, marital status, familial status, disability, gender identity, and gender expression. And I know that because of the anti-racism work I've done, there have been conversations that I don't know about how it's worked at the school, but there have been businesses that have made young African-American people feel like uncomfortable and not welcome, who are students from local institutions in Putney. There are cases where a local business owner felt discriminated in social media. That was addressed by the community because they were, what is that called when you can't access a social media site anymore? You're blocked.
Blocked, yeah.
They were blocked because somebody felt like they were not using the site, and they articulated that they were using the site the same way they've seen other business leaders in the region use the site, and they felt like they were targeted.
Is that iPutney or something? What is that?
Putney is where, I
Was
love
that the
Putney.
place?
It
I
What's
think-
iPutney?
No,
No,
Oh,
it
I
was-
love Putney?
I love
the
Putney.
Facebook
Oh, I'm not
page,
Yeah.
yeah, I love that.
So there's a lot of very distinct conversations I've been a part of for the last couple of years. And so Laura has been doing a bunch of research, and the way this is housed in Brattleboro is, I guess the town manager has taken this really seriously and is doing a lot of this work as a core of what Peter
LOL.
Yes.
Peter
Yeah.
L, right?
Yeah.
That
Am
was
I saying
him.
that accurately? That he's really done a lot of this work?
That was him at our committee meeting.
Yeah. So he's done that work as a part of the Community Equity Collaborative and other regional projects. And so that Laura is looking for a way for Putney to do this work here. So I'm gonna go, I've been doing outreach with Laura to all the major institutions. I have tried to figure out an appropriate way to reach out to leaders of, to families of color in Putney Central School.
Yeah.
And so I talked to Marissa. We're gonna put something in the school newsletter for this Saturday that invites everyone, but I'm gonna try to work with Michaela Michaela Sims, the diversity coordinator is her title, to see if families of color can be invited specifically because leaders of color in Vermont have continued to articulate not about us, without us. And that well-intentioned white people, in an effort to create solutions without including people of color as a part of the decision-making process, can sometimes, what's a polite way to say that?
Misstep.
Bulldoze?
Yeah, just not know necessarily what are all of the issues that
Mhm.
people are dealing with. And
Sure.
so the solution doesn't actually address the challenges that people are facing in their daily lives. So there's really, that people are invited to come on Wednesday night on the 19th to participate in that. So I reached out, or a couple of us, Laura has done a lot of this work, reached out to Landmark, the Putney School, I'm reaching out to PCS, there's a couple local business folks. So if someone can think of people who should be invited, help me figure that out because I'm gonna be doing those calls over the weekend.
And I'm glad Jamie brought it up because with everything else, it ran out of my mind. Laura reached out to me too, and I did think I would at least attend the meeting
Okay.
to discuss, not even discuss, but I believe obviously we should be behind this, the school should buy in because we're a big, huge part of it. And we'll also be buying in on a school district level, so why not have everybody on the same page? But I wasn't planning on committing us to anything, just saying, well, yeah, we're making our efforts in diversity as well, and let's do this as a town. So
If folks want to see the resolution, I'm happy to email it to them.
I have it too, but I didn't know I was allowed to pass it on. Yeah,
think
Laura
so.
talked to us separately,
Yeah.
but she did tell me she'd spoken to Jamie when she talked to me.
Gotcha.
As a matter of fact, that might have been a night you tried to call me, I think I was on the phone for 4.5 hours.
So what about signing the thing for,
Okay, we can just sign it on our way out,
okay.
and if we have no further business, can I have a motion?
Stressful Jamie time. No.
I need some more signatures on it.
Oh, okay.
I signed it.
Second. Oh, I just want to make sure.
There was a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.